Welcome back, everybody. Today we want to start assembling our slab name sculpture. So what you need for today, I still have the mat under here. I also have the canvas back on top just because I don't want any of my slabs to stick to the mat. I do have the skewer back again, and I also have a small container of slip, which is simply clay mixed with water. This is going to act as our glue. I do also have my sketch off to the side right here because I want a little bit of guidance on how I'm going to assemble these, keeping in mind that as I assemble this, I might decide to put them together in a different way. So a couple things before we get started. First of all, your slabs should have dried at least a little bit, which is actually a good thing. That means it will be easier to assemble these so that they can hold their shape. One thing that I do want you to keep in mind, depending on how much they dried, you might not be able to move or adjust them as much. Please do not push it. You don't want your slab to snap in half because you were bending it too much. The other thing is, because they've dried a little bit, if you were struggling to smooth out any areas when the clay was wet, having it dry a little bit will make it easier to, like the underside of mine will need some more attention today. When it dries a little bit, sometimes that can help with the crumbs. It's not as sticky. So you can also do that. All right, so what we want to do first, we want to see how are we actually going to assemble these together. So in my sketch, I have the U on the bottom, and then I have the S and the T angled like this. I want the T on the side, and then I have the V over on another side. I know from your perspective that is probably a little bit tough to see. And I'm looking at this and I don't know, I think I might want my U to be a little bit more visible. So I'm going to see if I can arrange this in a way where they are all standing upright and there are multiple points of connection for them. If you have more places where these letters connect together, you will have a much easier time assembling everything because you have more for it to like stick to itself. I think something like this, kind of like a tower, like 4 walls almost, I think something like that's going to work. So what you need to do, I'm going to start with the S and the T right here. I'm going to put my U and V off to the side. All right, so my S and T are going to be attached just like this. So I'm looking at where they are going to stick together. So specifically, my S is going to be along the side of the T right here. About right here. So anytime you're attaching pieces of clay together, you have to do something called the 4 S's. And the 4 S's will ensure that your clay pieces actually stay stuck. So the first S is score. And in order to do that, you'll take your skewer and anywhere that the 2 pieces of clay are going to attach, you are going to do a series of small lines. So I know it's attaching here, and I know it's also attaching on the back of the T right here. So lines on both of them. This acts as Velcro. It increases the surface area so it has something else to grab onto. The second S is slip, and slip is going to be your glue. That is your clay mixed with water. That's all that this is. So after you put your score marks down, you also want to use some slip, and this will help keep air bubbles out, but will also ensure that your pieces stay stuck. The next S is stick. And of course, you want to stick them together. You can tell, hopefully picking it up carefully, that they are going to be much more well attached. The next thing that you want to do is smooth. Moving this over on its side, I can see that some slip was oozing outwards. I am going to just use my finger in order to smooth that out. And also make sure that that seam where the 2 pieces meet is a little bit smoother, so that way I'm more confident that they're going to stay attached together. You want to do this for all of the connections that you have. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, make sure that all of my pieces are attached well, and then I'll check back in with you in just a moment. All right, so I have attached all of my pieces. Let me put this at a different angle, rotate it around. So I am confident that all of my pieces are attached well. You don't want to be, you want to be careful with it still, but, test it out. Make sure that everything is stuck. Keep in mind that after you attach everything, it's probably a good idea to smooth areas over, make sure that everything is clean. After you're completely done with it, the pieces will go into the kiln. And if you have any imperfections, any rough areas, anything that you didn't get a chance to smooth out, after they go into the kiln, you won't have the opportunity to smooth them out. The clay will permanently harden and you're kind of stuck with whatever shape it is that you have when it went into the kiln. So really take the time to do some cleanup to make sure that everything is well attached. And when you're done, you'll be able to set it onto the tray to dry and they'll go into the kiln shortly.